Today we're going to talk about the real reason Hollywood won't cast Tom Felton anymore. Too much pressure. I know that there are a lot of kids out there who dream of being the next big Hollywood star. A lot of actors begin their careers at young ages, and some of those child actors go on to be pretty big successes, but with that success comes a pretty big downside. Many former child actors have spoken out about their experiences of being in the spotlight at such a young age, and it doesn't sound like all sunshine and rainbows at all. This is one of the grievances that Tom Felton has with his career, and this could be one of the things that has held him back from the entertainment industry in later years. Tom has spoken out about the pressures of being a child actor, and a very famous one at that, since he was one of the stars of the biggest film franchises ever. Tom, when talking about his childhood, has said that he kind of resents the Harry Potter series and his part in it because he said that it robbed him of a normal childhood. That's completely understandable, since usually kids don't have to grow up in the public eye doing interviews, press conferences, and having paparazzi breathing down their necks. When Tom was asked about how he felt about the Harry Potter series coming to an end, he seemed a little bitter towards the films when he said that he was looking forward to it all being over and to having the freedom of not starring in films anymore because he hated his fame. Saying something like that might make Hollywood a little hesitant about hiring someone who hates their craft and what comes with it. Continuing on about his feelings towards the films and the part he played in his success, Tom told the Daily Mail, quote, "One thing that people keep on saying to me is that the wealth and fame must have made up for missing out on my childhood. But the idea of money putting a price on your childhood is ridiculous. To me, fame is not a positive thing. The idea of being famous is a lot better than the reality. It's fantastic when you go to premieres and people cheer for you, but it's not real." End quote. His resentment towards everything might have hurt his career in the long run. Career change. Usually when an actor gets out of one project, they start looking for the next big thing, that next big thing normally being another show or movie. But this wasn't exactly the case with Tom Felton. When his fellow Harry Potter castmates wrapped up their time in the franchise, Daniel Radcliffe moved on to Broadway and indie films, Emma Watson went to college, became an ambassador for a number of projects, and continued acting, but for Tom Felton, his next career move after Harry Potter was moving on to music, specifically rap. Yeah. He decided to leave the world of acting behind and got into the music scene, and in 2011 he announced that he had actually signed a contract with an indie label to produce some hip-hop music. Speaking out about this new part in his life, the actor said, quote, "I was thinking of doing some N-dub style stuff. I'm looking to get into the grime rap UK scene." End quote. He continued saying that he was really doing this to change his image. This really goes hand in hand with what he said about resenting his image as an actor and everything that came with it, so again, these comments and sudden career change certainly didn't help him out in Hollywood. What really sucked about this huge career change for Tom was the fact that his music never quite took off. Some songs had hit the public circuit, but not enough to really say that he found his next career path. It hurt his career taking this leap of faith and not having it pan out in his favor. Now before we carry on talking about why Hollywood doesn't want to work with Tom Felton anymore, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. Typecasting. Because Tom Felton played the role of Draco Malfoy so well, it ended up being more of a hindrance to his career rather than an asset. Draco was pretty much an antagonist character in the Harry Potter series, and because Tom was so good at portraying a character who was mean and cold, this made Hollywood executives want to cast him in more roles similar to Draco's character. Though this could be good in some way, it also puts an actor in a box because no matter what other roles he's cast in, he's still seen as the villain. Tom Felton has spoken out on a number of occasions, saying that his natural personality is nothing like that of Draco Malfoy, so he really wanted to distance himself from playing a villain role. But again, when typecasting comes into play, it's hard to get out of that box that Hollywood has put you in. Even the first role that Tom booked right after Harry Potter ended was an antagonist character, so this really just showed the actor that he was certainly stuck within his craft. Even Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, had a hard time booking roles after the series ended because everyone still saw him as the boy wizard, but he worked really hard to break that image and still continues to do so. Maybe if Tom Felton had done what Daniel did, then he would be more successful in Hollywood these days. Adjustment. Another reason that Hollywood might be overlooking Tom Felton for new roles could be because of the adjustment period that Tom took after wrapping on Harry Potter. Tom has opened up in the past about how it took him some time to get used to the idea of auditioning for roles again and not having them handed to him as the next installment of Harry Potter would start up pretty much right after the last one ended. He had been doing that same routine since starting his work on the films at the age of 12, and so this was a big change for him to have to seek out new work. During an interview with the Daily Mail in 2011, Tom opened up about how he had to adjust the auditioning process again, saying that things were much harder for him coming back to it after so many years. He told the publication, quote, "I'm much more nervous in auditions now than when I was 11. You take a lot of hits before you get something good. The first few were heartbreaking," end quote. The actor even went on to say that auditioning became so hard for him that he considered walking away from the business altogether. As you can imagine, auditioning is a huge part of being an actor, and so nailing an audition is really what makes or breaks one's career. Since Tom had such a hard time getting back into it, Hollywood might have seen this as a huge weakness and might not have wanted to take a chance on the actor because of it. Box office bombs. We all know by now that money is really what matters to people in the film industry. I mean, yeah, there are those few in the industry who do it all for the love of the craft, but for the most part, people are just out here trying to make the big bucks. Film executives want to hire the best people for their projects to make sure that their projects go well and are successful enough to make them lots of dough, so when things go left and films bomb at the box office, it ends up hurting a lot of people. Not only will the studio have lost a lot of money, but the actors would also be blamed for the movie not doing well because of their performance. This can cause actors to lose a lot of credibility in the industry because people rarely want to take a chance on people who might not make the contribution that they're looking for in regards to their film. This could be why Tom Felton hasn't really been hired much in Hollywood these days, because some of the films that Tom booked following the end of Harry Potter didn't really do too well. To some, Tom isn't considered a bankable actor in Hollywood because his recent films haven't brought in much money for the studio, and that's never a good thing. Being associated with so many box office bombs doesn't make a casting agent's job very easy because they can only do so much to get their client's foot in the door and in front of the director. This is why a lot of actors turn to indie films when coming out of big franchises. Actors like Daniel Radcliffe and Taylor Lautner have gone into the indie circuit after leaving their respective hit films because it's a good way to get into the industry without being pressured to make a lot of money. It's almost like building yourself and your career back from the ground up. So maybe Tom should look into this before really throwing in the towel with Hollywood. He's still a notable name, he's just gotta grind it out to get back on top and back in Hollywood's good books. Maybe we'll see this in the new year.
Megan Fox made her acting debut in the family film called Holiday in the Sun that was released in 2001. This came after numerous supporting roles in both film and television, as well as a starring role in ABC's Hope and Faith. Although without a shadow of a doubt her breakout role as an actor was when she played Michaela Baines in the blockbuster action film called Transformers. She would then reprise her role in the sequel called Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, but incidents with director Michael Bay are what many attribute to her decline in Hollywood. Fox had signed up to reprise her role for a third movie with the Transformers franchise and even had gone to rehearsals. However, she also did an interview where she compared Michael Bay to Hitler, and he apparently was willing to forgive her, but producer Steven Spielberg wasn't so pleased. You see, after Spielberg directed the movie Schindler's List, he founded the Survivors of the Shoah Visual History Foundation to combat bigotry and keep alive the story of Holocaust survivors. So it's not surprising that when Fox made this comparison, he didn't take it lightly. During an interview with GQ magazine, Michael Bay responded to a question about the termination of Megan Fox from his film. He said, and I quote, "She was in a different world. On her BlackBerry, you gotta stay focused. And you know, the Hitler thing." Steven Spielberg said, "Fire her right now." Now apparently Spielberg has denied this version of the events, and Megan's representation told People magazine, "Megan Fox will not be starring in Transformers 3. It was her decision not to return. She wishes the franchise the best." Now no matter who you want to believe though, this left the screenwriters for the film scrambling to rewrite the script given that a replacement for Fox was now required. Despite claiming to just not want to be involved with the film, Hollywood deemed Megan Fox to be too difficult to work with. Screenwriter Aaron Kruger, who was on the team for Transformers: Dark of the Moon, told GQ in 2011 more issues that they had with Megan adding to this point. In that article, he's quoted as saying, "She was there for rehearsals, but she seemed like an actress who didn't want to be a part of it. She was saying she wanted to, but she wasn't acting like it." Following her comments regarding Michael Bay, 3 crew members who had also worked on the Transformers franchise released a scathing statement just trashing Megan Fox. I mean, it's far too long to read out the entire thing, but I'll give you some of the highlights. In one section they say, "Michael found this shy, inexperienced girl, plucked her out of total obscurity, thus giving her the biggest shot of any young actress's life. He told everyone around to just trust him on his choice. He granted her the starring role in Transformers, a franchise that forever changed her life. She became one of the most Googled and ogled women on earth. She was famous. She was the next Angelina Jolie. Hooray! Wait a minute, 2 of us work with Angelina. Second thought, she's no Angelina. You see, Angelina is a professional." The shade. Then in another section, these crew members start to talk about Megan's lack of interest while being on set. And who is the real Megan Foxx? She is very different than the Academy nominee and winning actors we've all worked around. She's as about ungracious a person as you can ever fathom. She shows little interest in the crew members around her. We work to make her look good in every way, but she's absolutely never appreciative of anyone's hard work. Never a thank you. All the crew members have stopped saying hi to Miss Princess because she never says hello back. It gets tiring. Many think she just really hates the process of being an actress. And as a follow-up to her unceremonious departure from Transformers, Megan starred in a box office flop called Jennifer's Body. Then DC, wanting to hop on the train like Marvel with their Iron Man 1 film and Iron Man 2 film, they started using lower tier titles and released a Jonah Hex film in 2010. Millions of potential filmgoers asked the very good question of, what the hell is a Jonah Hex? Well, he's a grizzled 19th century bounty hunter with a burned face, played by Josh Brolin, while Foxx played the love interest, an Old West prostitute named Lila Black. Jonah Hex proved to also be a huge box office flop, earning a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes and just $10 million at the American box office. Even Megan Foxx herself realized how bad that movie was. While at WonderCon in 2016, she was answering questions about which movie she would let her kids see, and here's what Megan had to say. Something like Jennifer's Body, I'm not going to let them see for a long time. Something like Jonah Hex, I'm not going to let them see ever. No one should ever see that movie. Came from herself. Now, a lot of my thoughts about why Megan wasn't being cast had a lot to do with the projects on her resume more than who she is as a person. The reality is that most actors are difficult to work with, but if they are a big star, then the whole film crew just kind of bites their tongues throughout the filming. However, Megan has noticeably made a move to other mediums. She's doing more comedy with her temporary time on the sitcom New Girl, and she was just in Machine Gun Kelly's music video.
Katherine Heigl was introduced to the general public when she was cast as Dr. Isabel Stevens on Grey's Anatomy in 2005, and she was quickly considered the breakout character. And even though the show made her a star, it also caused her downfall. Then in 2007, she starred in rom-com hits like Knocked Up alongside Seth Rogen. Then that same year, she won an Emmy for her performance on Grey's, winning the Best Supporting Actress Drama Award. Then she starred in rom-com 27 Dresses, which was a huge box office hit. And because of all of this happening in a short time, she became a bona fide celebrity, a regular on Hollywood's sexiest lists and magazine covers. In 2008, she was even voted the most desirable woman, according to AskMen.com. That same year, she was primed to win the Emmy again for her role in Grey's, but she made one entitled move and it cost her whole career. Right before the Emmys, she pulled herself out of contention for the award, with her reason being that she didn't think her role in season 4 was, quote, given the material to warrant a win. Saying in a statement, quote, I did not feel I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdrew my name from contention. In addition, I did not want to potentially take away an opportunity from an actress who was given such materials. And obviously, a move like that is not only ridiculous, but also incredibly shady towards the show's creator and writer, Shonda Rhimes, as well as everyone else on the show. And Rhimes actually had a reason for not giving Heigl as much material. Apparently Heigl told her that she wanted a lighter work schedule, and the show acted accordingly. But after that, even though plenty of people absolutely hated Heigl, she still managed to book some more roles. She starred in The Ugly Truth, Killers with Ashton Kutcher, and Life as We Know It, all which had pretty good success and she was paid very well for. But the situation for Heigl went from bad to worse on March 11, 2010, when she reportedly did not show up for work on Grey's Anatomy, and Rhimes reached an agreement to immediately release Heigl from her contract. And although the show played it off as cool in the beginning, Rhimes later told Oprah Winfrey that Heigl's Emmy statement stung, saying, quote, on some level it stung, on some level I was not surprised. Adding, quote, when people show you who they are, believe them. I carry that with me a lot. It has served me well. Then even admitting to The Hollywood Reporter later on in 2014 that Rhimes has a, quote, no policy. Adding, quote, there are no Heigls on set and I don't put up with bullshit or nasty people, hinting at their feud. To make things worse, around the same time, Heigl received a Golden Raspberry Award nomination for Worst Actress. Yikes. Then 2 years later, when Heigl's career was looking really rough, she actually went back to the show and begged to get back on set and finish out Izzy's storyline, even saying that she missed the show and the work environment in general. But of course, they did not take her back after she embarrassed them like that. This is when the bad really started, and in the 2010s, whatever role she had was generally a flop. Heigl finally apologized for her Grey's snub in a 2016 interview with Howard Stern, admitting that she was embarrassed and actually approached Rhimes after it all went down to apologize. Saying in the interview, quote, I went in because I was really embarrassed, so I went to Shonda and said, I'm so sorry, that wasn't cool, I shouldn't have said that. and I shouldn't have said anything publicly. But at the time, I didn't think anybody would notice. I just quietly didn't submit, and then it became a story. I felt like I was obligated to make a statement. But after some time in the dumps and showing remorse for her bad actions, it seems that Hollywood has given her another chance. This came in the form of Meghan Markle leaving Suits to get married to Prince Harry, with Heigl taking Markle's spot. Heigl was cast as Samantha Wheeler in season 8 of the hit show, saying it all happened because she was obsessed with the show, and even contacted the creator to see if there was a potential that they could collaborate. And luckily he needed someone for the show and ended up casting Heigl for the role. And when speaking about the role, she said, quote, "I am playing one of the most interesting and bad women I have the opportunity to play." But that's not all. She was also cast in Firefly Lane, a Netflix series based on the novel by Kristen Hanna. So after all the drama, it seems like she might be making a comeback once again. And all fans can hope is that she learned her lesson and will not squander the new opportunities that she has been given. So that's all for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Katherine. Personally, I always loved her as an actress and liked her in the roles that she played, but when I found out later about her being like a major diva, it definitely left a bad taste, you know? But from the Suits promos that I've seen, it seems like she's settling into the role really well, and I hope she can do the show justice, because it used to be one of my favorites, to be honest. But then, honestly, in the later season, it kind of went downhill. Just the, classic story to most TV shows.